This is my Viper Anycubic 3D printer I got for Christmas. You can see I've got about a quarter of my big spool left. And I was on the NASA website this past week and I saw that they had some 3D printed models that you could download. And so I thought I would give it a try. And this is a little documentation about what my experience was. So the very first thing I did was go to the NASA website. Actually, you could take a shortcut and go to NASA 3D printing, and they've got a lot of cool stuff, some of which I definitely want to think about printing out. This looks cool. There's a lot of cool stuff on here, but I landed on this Curiosity Rover, and it gives you some information about it, etc. And then here's what it actually looks like, when it went and da-da-da-da-da. So then you download it, obviously. And there's a note up here that is very interesting, and I will definitely probably email them after I put it together. All right, after you first download it and then unzip it, you will get a folder like this. And then you've got the simplified version, which frankly, I didn't even look at, I must admit. But I, of course, being a detailed person, I went into the detailed version. And so what you get are these, this, and this. That's what you download. So if I open this, I loaded the components. It downloads, I think, 4 files: the body, the components, pins and gears or something like that. Pins and wheels, I think it's called. And then there may be one other, which maybe I haven't printed out yet. I guess I need to check that. And so when you put it in the Blender, the beautiful thing is that you can separate all of these into individual objects. And the reason that that is important is because when you download it, this all is one thing, which you could theoretically print out all at one time. And you say to yourself, oh, that would be awesome, because then I wouldn't have to go down every 15 to 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what you're printing out here, and change them. These take 18 minutes. This took like 25 minutes. These took, I don't know, somewhere in the low 20 minutes. I think the engine took 45 minutes. This probably took close to an hour. These took in the 30-minute range. These took probably a little less than that. So one thing that I did not realize at first was that all of these are exactly the same, which, it's obvious now. So you really only need one of those to print out. These are the same, so you only need one of those to print out. These, however, are different, which is very important. These are different. These are different, obviously facing each other. And then each of these two, I believe, are the same. I did them separately anyways. That's obviously separate. This and this are separate. So separating them out in Blender or whatever other software you fancy to use is a good idea. I'm going to save myself a little time. Let me import the components, because that's really the important one. Curiosity detailed. So if I bring this in, whoa, first of all, it's huge. So second of all, it's all one thing. And so when you open up your Cura, if that's what you use, and it's free. So it looks like this when you open it up, which if you've done this. So if I opened up the components in here, then I get that. And so again, you could print it all out after you sliced it and everything. The problem with doing that is, at least on my printer, and I don't know, I can't speak to all the others, but when the head moves between here and here, between here and here, between wherever and wherever, it tries to cut off the filament as it comes through the nozzle, but there's always going to be at least a little bit that drizzles out, and then of course it hardens. And so what you're going to end up with is a bunch of little things that you can clean up by cutting them or sanding them or filing them. I still haven't exactly figured out the best way to do that. But if you don't, you're just going to get a bunch of ragged pieces. Hence, I went into Blender, I individually named them, and then as you can see, so like that is all by itself. So I can delete that, and I've got that, and then I can slice it. I might as well. I'm sure you already know how to do that. But you slice it, it tells you, and this is pretty close. I think my printer's a little bit slower than this, but it's kind of cool to see how much it's going to weigh and how many meters of filament it's going to take. And I haven't gone through to add mine up to get, quote, the cost of it, which is, of course, just raw materials. And the time is the big factor in here. It's also cool how it tells you how many layers it is. And, of course, you can go in here and make all the adjustments to your printer. But I just left, I think, everything as is. And I'll show you, how it looks. So anyways, then I save this. And then, you could open something else. Now, when you do this, one thing you have to be careful of, and I've done this a couple times, is if I just deleted this, then if I save this, it would have the same file name as what I erased, unless I totally closed it and reopened it. And then you can end up with either duplicate file names, or you can write over something you've already done and give it an incorrect label. So I would definitely not do that. Now, what I did, unfortunately, this I did as is, and I'm going to show you what happened because of that. So I went in here and I sliced it and I printed everything out at once. It wasn't a total disaster, but when I show you, well, I may have already thrown them away. So I guess I'll show you when I get to the real model. So that I would definitely separate in Blender. And when you do, then you only have to do one of each of these and then print them out individually. And for these, it may not be worth it because these have the little tabs on them. And so you just have to peel them off and they work fine. But at least for me, I had problem with 2 of these for sure. And I want to look at all the other ones to see if they really are, because this opening here is a little bit tricky. But I would definitely separate those, make a single copy of this, print 6 of those, and then for these I would just do them all at the same time. I don't think it would be worth doing it a different way. I didn't have to do anything with the body because the body is its own thing, but I'll load it up here just to see what it looks like. So this I just brought in and I sliced what I said. So this shows 8 hours and 49 minutes. Mine took 11 hours and something, and I think it paused when it bound up, so it's not like the clock was running. So that's what, 30% longer, give or take. You definitely don't do this because you're in a hurry or you're going to sell these and make a lot of money unless you sell them for $500 each. So this took almost 40 meters of filament, and I bet the whole thing took 70, maybe 80. And so that's probably maybe $10, $8 to $10 worth of filament altogether. And again, you could go, wow, if I had to go out and buy this model, it would cost me X amount of money. But obviously that's not why you do it. So this is by far the biggest thing, I would say, kind of most complex thing that I ever did, which is cool. One thing I will tell you, one more thing, is on a couple of these smallish ones, on this one, I did the whole slicing and I put it on the SD card, and when I printed it, and I think I may have thrown that away too, it printed this first layer, and then it did not adhere to the bed of the printer well enough, and so it stuck on like the second layer and it started dragging it around. And if you've done any printing, this may have happened to you. And basically it's unusable. And I think this happened 3 times, and all 3 times, one of them I caught really early because I stayed down there to make sure, and sure enough, it didn't work. The other 2, I think it had printed, one had printed half of it, the other had printed all of it. So that was 20 to 30 minutes of wasted time. So I would definitely, depending on your printer, it would definitely be worth sitting there and watching the first minute of printing or 2 minutes, because after that, everything is good. And I think I got in the habit of doing that on pretty much all of them. These are all the components I'll go into a little bit of detail about those, not a whole lot. And then this, which printed overnight, is the body of this Mars rover. I'll have to get the official name of it. This took about 11 hours to print. I had one problem where this got bound up overnight and then it broke. And so I came down this morning and I had an error message on the screen over here saying what had happened. And so fortunately, all I had to do was feed that in there by hand until the little gear inside there started to pull it. And then I just hit resume and it did resume and finish printing. And I haven't really looked at it yet, but I were going to take a look and make sure that it's okay. While putting it together, it is I was going to let my grandson do it, but these parts are a super tight fit. These things right here, your fingers really get, I don't know if you can see the indent still, but those are really sore, and you can press down on them. You never want to use your teeth to bite down on those. But I brought this in, and when I tried to put it in here, I don't know if you can see it, but it cracked. So I'm currently printing a new one of these, which is, of course, is a nice part about 3D. I think the crack is right there somewhere. If I pulled it, well, no, I guess you can maybe see it right there. Anyways, redoing that, but so I have been putting this together, and I will bring you the results as soon as it's finished. Another quick update, I also cracked this piece while inserting it. You can probably see the break, so I've got to go reprint that also. Trials and tribulations continue. I reprinted this, and then I put it in, but I put it in slightly incorrectly, as you can. So I'm not going to reveal the whole thing until I'm done, but I put it in, obviously there's 4 ways you can put it in, and I put it in wrong by 90 degrees. So when I went to pull it out, it broke off. So now I've got to print it again. Dang it. And I've got to figure out how to get that out of there. I don't know if it'll just dump out. Hopefully it will. In fact, let me try it right now. Well, no, then I might give away the reveal. And the beat goes on. So as I was doing that last little fix, I realized that this thing is broken. It may have been broken all along, but I've had to take it in and out of the tire several times. So now I got to reprint this thing. Dang it. For what it's worth, I just printed out one of these new hubs. Maybe these are called wheels and the others are called tires, but I think printing them out singularly, as I mentioned earlier, I would bet that one that broke was printed out as part of the 6-pack. So once again, proof that printing them out singularly, while it takes a lot more time, is worthwhile. I did not intend for this to be the world's longest video, but this one side of the wheels, tires, mechanism was loose, and so I looked at it, and sure enough, one of the pieces had broke off, and again, it's lodged inside of this without giving too much away. So now I need to, whoops, that's not in focus. I need to go attend to that. And then if that wasn't bad enough, the other one of these for the other side, you can see that it's split there. So this is a lot trickier than I thought, and I don't know if it's just inherent in that it's such a tight fit or what, but you can see that is split. So I have to print off 2 more of those. This is the big reveal, complete with 2001 Space Odyssey music. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, 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 boom. So it's pretty cool. I broke probably 5 or 6 parts trying to get it together. So I would say to NASA, thank you so much for doing this, but I think kids would be extremely frustrated putting it together unless other 3D printers work better than mine. And I don't know if it's an exact fit. These pieces that connect the, I don't even know if that's an axle, whatever it is, to his, I broke both of them once and I think one of them twice. And I think they're broken now. There's those little like pinchers, and when you press them together they break, and they kind of snap when I put them in, so maybe they're broken, but it doesn't really matter. But you can see I don't think it's supposed to be loose like that. Some of these wheels treads move a little easier than others. I don't know if over time they'll all move a little better. You can see when you roll it across. Not that it's really meant for that. And then this is kind of cool. This is the camera, which you can like extend out to get super shots of the surface, which is kind of cool. I broke I broke this thing at least once. I don't know if that's broken again or not. It's kind of loose. I can't tell. But there you have it. It's like I said, it probably took at least, well, all told, I would say 20 hours to print, because this took 11 plus. Yeah, I would say, probably being generous, maybe in the low 20s, especially with the reprints. And then to put it together took a while. I mean, it's not hard, but just getting all of these pieces in, my fingers and my thumb are just really raw, which is another reason I think, I mean, you know, a 12-year-old or a whatever wouldn't have a problem, but a 6 or 7-year-old I think would break some stuff if their parents weren't there to help them. But that's what parents are for. So I don't know what I'll do with this, but it's just kind of a complex thing that I printed out. So thank you, NASA, and see you on Mars.